guys, this is Dr. Orange at Paw Haven in Winter, Florida. I have Tinker here today. She's helping me out. We did just diagnose her with an ear infection, so she is our perfect little model today.
What are common symptoms of ear infections in dogs?
The most common symptoms that we see with ear infections in dogs is going to be shaking their head, so they're just flapping their ears all the time, scratching their ears or their face, and sometimes you can even smell a bad odor from their ears. And if you look in their ear canal, you'll sometimes see that they're really red, or maybe there's a lot of discharge coming from their canal. Dogs get ear infections for many reasons. The most common thing that we see is ear infection secondary to inflammation. So anything that causes inflammation would be like allergies, infectious things like ear mites. Sometimes dogs have abnormal anatomy, so their ears are very floppy, and so sometimes moisture or water can get caught in their ear canals, and that can predispose to ear infections as well. Every once in a while we'll see different endocrine diseases like thyroid disease cause ear infections also. Some dogs have predisposing factors that make them more likely to get an ear infection, so things like really narrow ear canals, if they have a lot of hair inside of their ear canals, or if they have really floppy ears, so moisture gets trapped in there and it allows a really nice environment for bacteria to. What happens during an ear infection is the inflammation that's within that canal will cause the normal bacteria and yeast to overgrow, and that will make them itch more. And so it's just this vicious cycle of inflammation and itching that will just get worse until we do something about it.
How do you diagnose an ear infection?
Usually we're gonna do a pretty good exam of the ear. We're gonna use our otoscope and look into that ear canal. A lot of the times dogs are really painful though when they come in for an ear infection. And so many times we won't get a good view because we're not gonna force our way into your dog's ear canal. And then we're also going to take samples from their ear canal for cytology, and this way we can look under the microscope and see what is actually causing the ear infection. So is there yeast, is there bacteria, what kind of bacteria, and that way we can really target our treatment. So this is an otoscope. This is what we use to look inside of a dog's ear canal. We'll lift the ear pinna up and take a good look. The way that dogs' ears are shaped is they're at like an L, so a lot of times we have to pull that ear out to be able to look at the tympanic membrane or the inner eardrum. The way that we get samples from their ears is using basically like little Q-tips, and we'll use that to just take a sample right from the canal, and then whatever sample we get here we put on a glass slide, and then we stain it and look at it under a microscope.
How do you treat an ear infection?
So treatment is going to be targeted at whatever organism that we see on the cytology, so yeast or bacteria, and then a huge part of treatment is treating the inflammation that's present. So a lot of the times we're going to be cleaning those ears out really well, making sure we get all of the debris that's in the canal out. That way we can have a really clean surface and a place to start, so the medication that we put inside of the ear can get absorbed and work well. There are different types of ear cleaners and ear medications that will target specific things, and depending on what kind of ear infection your dog has is how we will choose what we're going to use. Sometimes in dogs we will have to use oral medications as well, so sometimes oral antibiotics, different anti-inflammatories. A lot of the times we'll be using like a low dose or short course of steroids, and sometimes we'll even use Apoquel to help with itching and inflammation. To mention about ear infections are some dogs will get one ear infection and they'll never have another ear infection again. But so many of these allergy dogs that we have that are itching all the time, especially in Florida, we have chronic repeat ear infections, and it is so important to get good diagnostics and treat them appropriately every time, because bacteria can absolutely gain resistance to the medications we use. Some of the side effects from ear infections are going to be ear hematoma, so that's when the dog's ear pinna will fill with blood. This happens when a dog is aggressively shaking their head from itching, where a little blood vessel pops, and it will just fill this pinna with blood, and it will get very uncomfortable. The other thing that we'll see sometimes is hearing loss. Hearing loss can be permanent, but it can also be temporary. Some of the medications we use to treat ear infections can also cause hearing loss, and most of the time that's a temporary thing and their hearing will return to normal.